Thanks for listening to the Rockpit, your home for hard and melodic rock, heavy metal and blues. Today we're going to interview with Pete Fry from the band FarCry, who back in 2009 released a wonderful High Gear album and followed that up with Optimism in 2011. Since then things have been pretty quiet for the band, but things are about to change and it's great news for FarCry fans. Let's see what Pete had to say.
What's going on, man?
Pete, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Can't even remember the last time we spoke. Very, very long time ago. It must have been towards the early days of when we started the website, maybe 2010?
That sounds about right, yeah. Because that's when, that was probably the last time, like 2010, 2011 are some of the last interviews I did and everything, because that was when we did the second album.
Yes.
So it's been a while.
It has. FarCry, great band, 2 wonderful albums behind you, and you're playing pretty soon, I think, aren't you? Your next date?
We are playing tomorrow night.
And it's when was the last time you were playing as FarCry?
We've played a few times this year. We've played. I think we played 3 or 4 gigs this year, but those are the first ones since 2013, I think was the last one in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. I mean, you were always a band that was sort of pretty well dispersed, I guess, across the country. Is that still the case?
It is not as much as it was back in the day. At this point, we still have Angelo, our second guitarist. He's still up in Massachusetts, so that's about, that's a couple hundred miles away from the rest of us. One of us is in New Jersey, one of us is in New York, and then 2 of us are in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, so it's not too bad. And
no, not.
And I guess the big question for me is, I love both of your albums. Are we going to get a third?
Oh yeah, we definitely are. In fact, if you check your Facebook messages, you will see a brand new track from us, and it's actually the final mix. We had it mixed by Paul Crook, who's done several of the last Meatloaf albums, among other things, having been in Anthrax, and he's working currently with Brian May, if I'm not mistaken. So I just sent you a brand new track. It's a newer version than anyone else has out there, because we literally just got it just a few days ago.
Well, I guess the other big news for you is the fact the Melodic Rock Fest 5 has just been announced, and you're on the bill with some pretty decent bands.
I would say so. I think, honestly, even as a fan of the music, which I am very much to this day and always have been, it's going to be a great experience for me just to see some of those bands live. He really put together a great list. I think he really knocked it out of the park, maybe more so than any of the other Melodic Rock Fests, at least in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we had a one over in Australia last year, which was pretty good, but nothing like the lineup for this one. I mean, I guess so many bands that I've loved over the years, and so many great new bands as well. But my only problem with the Saturday was I thought you were a little bit too far down the bill. I think they should just turn that lineup round there. And
if only. And you always want to be a little bit further up the chain. But I think, we're well placed considering that we haven't released anything since 2011. So I think it's a fair positioning for us. I really can't complain. I'm really glad Andrew took the chance on putting us on the bill, even without having any new product for the last 6 years. And our plan is, and I'm sure we're going to attain this, we will have a third album available and ready by May of next year for Melodic Rock Fest, and hopefully before that.
Well, that's fantastic news. I mean, and that was the main question I had to ask tonight.
Honestly, I didn't think we were going to see it either. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, honestly, not to get too much into my personal life, but several years ago, I quit my corporate job and opened up a bar and restaurant with a longtime friend of mine. And at that point in time, FarCry was having some issues, and obviously we had dropped our label and gotten off there. And I was just like, you know what? I'm really busy opening up this restaurant. That's it. No more FarCry. It's done. It's done, and it's not coming back. I'll get back into music, but I'll do something else. And then I met our current singer, Bob Malone, who's a great singer and an extremely prolific writer. And we started writing, and everything was really in that melodic rock vein again, because apparently I'm a one-trick pony that way. and I talked to a number of people, and they're like, "You're crazy if you don't call it FarCry." And I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right, because we're doing, we kind of split the set 50-50 these days between new stuff and old stuff, and it just fits like a glove. I'm really just glad to be back.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I always think Pete Fry, FarCry. It rhymes. It works really well. And you always tease me every day. And every time I come back to the States, I think I've got to go to Philadelphia to check out some of this food and some of these beers down at the bar. So so we might get into the beers a little bit later. But you've also got a radio show as well.
I do. I'm currently on. I started that back in. I talked to Steve Price about it actually in 2012 when FarCry played Firefest. And he had mentioned he was having trouble finding enough presenters for their show on ARFM. And I said, well, I could do a show. He was like, really? I said, yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do a show. He said, okay, great. Let's start doing that. And then I went home and said, oh my God, I have no idea how to do a radio show. So I just started putting it together. I fumbled my way through it. I'll never be a professional presenter, I guess, but I listened back to some of those first shows, and I'm like, how did they even keep me on the air? But now we're on 3 different stations, ARFM, Philly Rock Radio, and hairbandheaven.com. And I really love doing it.
Great radio stations over there. I wish we had more of them over here. For those guys, I guess, especially in Australia, who haven't heard of FarCry and the fact that you're coming back, tell us just a little bit about the music, I guess. I mean, what sort of stuff did you grow up as a kid listening to?
Well, it's actually weird. I kind of went backwards, because I know a lot of people go from melodic rock or hair metal or whatever you want to call it, and then they get into more grown-up stuff or more avant-garde stuff. And I started with I was a huge punk and new wave fan when I was growing up. I love that stuff to death, and it was kind of the golden era of all that. Everything from the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag and Sex Pistols to the new wave side of things with Devo and that kind of stuff. And I love that stuff. And then as I started playing guitar, I started realizing that a lot of that stuff wasn't real challenging to play. So I started listening to other music, and that's when I really got into like Rat, Dokken. A lot of the LA metal was kind of where I cut my teeth and really got into playing guitar pretty heavily, and that's where a lot of my influence comes, and a lot of the songwriting, I think. Yeah. I also listen to a lot of 70s rock, so Zeppelin, Bad Company, Deep Purple, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of I'm kind of a hybrid, or a bastard, or a mutt, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it works well. So the two albums sound fantastic. Are we looking at similar territory for the third? We're going to get High Gear or something more akin to the second album.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be different than both of them. I think you're going to find, because I really felt like I matured as a songwriter on Optimism, our second album, and in addition, the band had really gelled together, and that to me is more of a band album. Whereas High Gear, at that point, we were still a project. We didn't even have all the members. I mean, it was basically me on guitar, Mark on vocals. The producer played bass, who's Ty Sims. He's a fantastic producer and solid bass player, of course. And we programmed drums for that. So. And then we went out and found the rest of the members and had a live band put together. And the second album, I think, was more of a result of that. This third one, I think, straddles both territory. I think you've got more of the edge that you had on High Gear. It's a little more heavy guitar-wise and much less in the way of keyboards, but it's still very melodic. And it feels great. We play as a band all the time. We're together, at least once or twice a week. We talk all the time. It's definitely a band as opposed to a project, and I couldn't be happier. I'm so excited about this. I can't even tell you.
Did you ever stop writing? Was that something that ever completely left when you had that break?
No, all throughout, even when I took the break, I'd still grab the acoustic and my iPhone and do the voice memo recorder when I had new ideas, and I have just a truckload of that stuff sitting on my phone that I've used some of, and I'm saving some for later. And like I said, Bob, our current singer, extremely prolific, brought a number of songs to the band, and also took some of the stuff that I would give him and put. I don't often write lyrics myself. It's just not something I feel extremely comfortable with, and he's just fantastic with that. So,
looking back on those first two albums, what was your favorite? I've got my particular favorites, but can you look back on that as an artist objectively and choose?
I think so, especially after all this time. High Gear came out about 8 years ago, and Optimism was 6 years ago. As far as songs on those albums, some of the Jace Paulak stuff is great. He wrote 4 songs on our first album and 1 on the second. I think those are all fantastic, and in fact, I've often said it's well documented that Same Mistake from High Gear is one of my favorite songs ever. I think he just knocked it out of the park, and it's not an especially rockin' tune or a challenging guitar tune. I just love the passion in the story and the way it comes off, and Mark, I think, really did a great job of emoting that feeling when he sung it. As far as, there's so many things. I love to play She's Crazy live. It's absolutely one of my favorite songs to play live, just singing the vocal harmonies and just some fun guitar work. It's just a lot of fun to do. And then, of course, you have some of the stuff from the second album. I love Too Hot to Hold, just a real fun kind of Dokken-y style riff, nice and edgy and kind of in your face. I don't know, it's like picking a child, really.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that I always find on playlists when I come back to is Over and Over from that second album. That's a great song. Love that one.
That is, I really do like that song, and I neglected to mention my good friend Steve Newman, who I co-wrote 4 tunes on Optimism with, and that being one of them. And in fact, if anyone was at Firefest 2011, we were actually supposed to be on that bill, and then things kind of didn't work out for us, but I was still going, and Newman actually ended up taking our slot, and Steve called me and very graciously offered me the chance to come up on stage with him, and we did that song together with Newman Band, and it was just, it made a really kind of downhearted weekend turned into one of the most amazing weekends of my life. Those guys treated me like family the whole weekend. I felt like I was part of the band. They probably couldn't wait to get rid of me, but it was great fun. I had a good time.
I think they've got a new album out as well, coming up anyway.
Yes, and it's fantastic. I love Steve Newman's work. I love the band. I love his production. His songwriting is fantastic. He's just got such a way of putting things together, and really, I'm a huge fan of Steve Newman.
Excellent, that's great. I think we've just hopefully got enough time for just a couple of questions just to close, if that's okay, Pete.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been asking people this question a lot, and I'm getting some really, really surprising answers to it, which is why I've kept persisting with it. But and it's an almost impossible question to answer until you hear the next one. But it's can you summarize what music means to you in one song? If you had to play a song for someone that epitomized all of the great feelings that music gives you, what would you choose today?
That's a really tough question. That you are 100% accurate in saying that's a tough question. One of the songs, I'm just going to say something that just pops into my head as something that really makes me feel everything passionate about music, from the sadness to the happiness to the power of it. I always go back to Boston's "Long Time."
Oh wow, yeah, great song.
Yeah, and it just everything from the extended intro to when it just really kicks in to the end, when instead of doing the acoustic riff between that and the verse, he comes in with the electric, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, Boston obviously responsible for more than their fair share of great songs, but I mean that's a particularly good one. If that wasn't hard enough for you, then I guess the next question, and traditionally the final question we ask people: what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life? I mean, I guess that's relatively easy for me to answer, because to me it's about living and experiencing things now. I've never been really good at putting things off, not following my impulses, doing things maybe before I should just because I can't wait to do them. I think you really have to, and especially in light of the number of musician and other entertainer deaths in the last couple of years alone, I think it just brings it even more into clarity that you gotta seize the day, carpe diem, man. It's all about living. Do it now, because you might not have tomorrow.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Do you have a name for the new albums yet?
That we do not have. At this point, we have 3 songs that are finished recording. We've got one final mix, which I sent you, and hopefully we can hear that on your station when we get into that. And we've got 2 that are being mixed right now, and then we've got a number that are in varying stages of completion. But we have like a real wealth of material to the point where, and this is a great position to be in, and I don't think I've been in this position since way back in the day, where I think we're going to have to cut some stuff, because we just have that much. So
wow, it's it's a great position to be in. Can't wait for the album, and I know quite a lot of the guys out there in internet land, and especially it was amazing. Sometimes I think a lot of people are probably still in touch with you and have got you as friends on Facebook. But when I said I was going to talk to Pete today and ask if there was going to be another FarCry album, I was pleasantly surprised by the number of people who showed a lot of interest in that. So they haven't gone away, Pete. They're still there. They're still waiting for this new material to come out. So Good.
That is so great to hear. You have no idea how happy we are to hear that, because we're really, really psyched, and we're extremely honored to be on the Melodic Rock Fest bill. I really wasn't thinking that was going to be able to happen for us, and I was so glad when Andrew reached out and said, "Hey, mate, you want to be on the bill?" I'm like, "You know it, man."
Yeah.
So
that's great. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. What beers have you got on at the moment?
At the moment, we've got a really cool one from Perennial Brewers called Hopfen Tea, which is like a tart Berliner Weiss style.
Oh, wow.
But they basically made a tea out of dried fruit and hibiscus and things like that. So it's tart, but it's got like a light floral fruity note in the background. It's really exciting. That's one of my favorites right now.
So if we're in Philadelphia, where should we be heading for the best beer?
Well, obviously I'm very biased, but I would say Tap Room on 19th at 2400 South 19th Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Fantastic. I had to get that plug in there for you.
I appreciate that. Don't think I don't.
No worries, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Pete. And you've made my day by telling me what I've got in my inbox there. So I'm going to have a listen to that now. Play it to the wife, and if she smiles, I'll give you a big thumbs up. I'm sure
I appreciate that. I look forward to hearing.
No worries. You take care. I mean, I've always follow you on Facebook. I always love some of the comments you make on there as well, and always loved your music. So it's a pleasure to reconnect, and it's wonderful to have you as one of the first interviews on the new radio show.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I can't wait to listen. I will definitely be counted among your listeners.
Yes, because we are podcasting, so it'll be out as a podcast as well. So that's fantastic. And we'll make sure that we premiere the track on there as well. You have a great day. And
you too, Mark. Thank you so much.
I'll probably see you in May.
I look forward to that. That'll be great. We'll definitely have to have a beer.
We will. Take care. Thanks, Pete.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.